It's finally time to talk about differences when it comes to the size and space of the 2025 Toyota Crown Signia versus, on the right-hand side, the 2024 Toyota Venza Hybrid. Both are very similar, but both are very different. A lot of us and a lot of you are saying that the Crown Signia is the replacement to the Toyota Venza, but perhaps that's not quite so. Let's review the size and space just ahead in this video. Let's talk about powertrains for just a second. Both are hybrid Toyota systems. The Venza has the hybrid Synergy drive system, putting out 219 horsepower, whereas the Crown Signia has the THS standard hybrid system, giving you 240 horsepower, which is definitely impressive. Now, they're both hooked up to a 55-liter gas tank, and the Toyota Venza gives you 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers combined city and highway average, with the Crown Signia giving you around 6.2. Hang on, everyone, for just a second. So I'm right now currently sitting in this 2025 Crown Signia, and I did a couple of videos already on the Crown Signia, and I've referenced and mentioned the size when comparing to vehicles in the Toyota lineup, like the Crown Sedan, like the Toyota Venza. And I've gotten a lot of feedback and comments asking for a side-by-side comparison. And I kind of scratched my head and I'm like, you know, that probably already exists on YouTube. And I searched it and I can't believe it. No one has done a side-by-side video comparison of the all-new Crown Signia next to a 2024 Toyota Venza, which is what everyone here on this platform is saying that it replaced the Venza. It kind of really didn't. But no one's done a side-by-side comparison yet. They've talked about the Venza, the Crown Signia, the Crown Sedan. They've referenced, you know, certain aspects of each vehicle, but side-by-side didn't exist until now. So make sure you do yourself a favor and subscribe to the best Toyota channel on YouTube. I've done a pretty decent job at parking these two vehicles side by side closely together, matching up those side mirrors so we can get a true indication of what's happening for the size difference. Now, the length of the Toyota Venza measures in at 186.6 inches in length, whereas the Toyota Crown Signia measures in at 194.1 inches in length, but you'll see that most of that length is gained in the rear of the vehicle. Let's compare and talk about the height. So the height of the Toyota Venza is 65.9 inches in height. The Crown Signia, which you can see here, there is a little bit of a difference, measures in at 63.6 inches in height from the top of the roofline, which you can tell the Venza gains a couple of inches of space there, but that may or may not be an issue. Let's open up the doors a little bit ahead in this video and you can see the kind of headroom we're talking about. Okay, here's where you're gonna see the gain on the length of the Toyota Crown Signia, and it is in the rear of this vehicle, which I'll get to some more points on that in just a second. So again, 186.6 inches in length on the Venza, 194.1 inches in length on the Crown Signia, and you see that the trunk area, cargo area does protrude out a few inches past the Toyota Venza. What do you guys think? Surprisingly, the actual wheelbase of the Crown Signia is also longer than the Toyota Venza. So you can see here there's a few reasons why this isn't an exact replacement for the Toyota Venza. It's just an alternative to the Venza, but not quite the same vehicle. Gives you a bit more space, gives you a bit more pleasure and luxury, in my opinion, when driving it. Guys, the wheelbase on the front two tires, both side by side when you're matching up these vehicles, is pretty similar. You can say again, most length and most size difference on the Crown Signia versus the Toyota Venza happens in the rear, happens in the back behind the driver's seat. We'll get to that in just a second, but the wheelbase from Crown Signia to Venza, Crown Signia 112.2 inch wheelbase, 105.9 inch wheelbase on the Toyota Venza. So if you can't tell, I've got the Crown Signia over on the right hand side and the Venza on the left. And do you see how that rear wheel on the Crown Signia is sitting further back from the wheel on the Toyota Venza, and that is because, like I just mentioned, the wheelbase is actually bigger and longer on the Crown Signia, leading to a more spacious interior. Okay, so you lose a little bit of ground clearance when going with the Crown Signia over the Toyota Venza. It's not drastic and not huge of a difference, but you got to imagine that's to come with that aggressive, sporty styling and a really cool looking front end. Crown Signia has a 6.3-inch ground clearance from the ground to the bumper, whereas the Toyota Venza has an 8.1-inch ground clearance from ground to bumper. Now that's right around a 2-inch difference in terms of front end ground clearance. Not enough to be a deal breaker, but something to definitely keep in mind depending on what type of roads you're traveling on, speed bumps. You want to be a little bit more cautious maybe with, snowbanks, stuff like that. But overall, 2 inches, not a big deal. Talking about that ever so needed cargo space and cargo capacity, I believe you do have more space in the Toyota Crown Signia when comparing it side by side and looking at the specification numbers, especially with the back seats folded completely down flat. Toyota's saying that the Crown Signia has a 6.5% improvement in cargo space when comparing to the Toyota Venza, and you can definitely see it. I must say the overall width does play a factor as well into this. The width of the Toyota Venza is 73 inches, and with Crown Signia you gain 1 inch at 74 inches width of the vehicle. So overall you do have more space in the back and in the interior of the Crown Signia than the Toyota Venza. And as you can see from this angle, you do have a higher loading height on the Toyota Venza versus the Toyota Crown Signia. Crown Signia does sit a little bit lower due to that ground clearance as well. That plays a factor in that. So you might have to, stretch a little bit more or put a little bit more effort when you're loading up the Crown Signia versus loading up the Toyota Venza. If you haven't done the math yet, the Crown Signia measures in at 7.5 inches longer than the Toyota Venza. And Toyota did a fantastic job mapping out where they're going to use that extra 7.5 inches on the Crown Signia, giving you space where you need it, as you can see from these two angles here. Loading your passengers in and out of the vehicle may also feel a little bit more crammed and tight on the Toyota Venza because it does have a little bit of a smaller door opening. Now, similar space in the back seats on the Toyota Venza versus the Crown when it comes to legroom and overall space, but you can see here it does have a little bit of a more narrow door opening when compared to the Crown Signia. If you see here, the space and the opening of the rear door on the Crown Signia is a bit more open and freed up when it comes to allowing enough room for your passengers in the rear to get in and out. I think it'll be easier and they'll have more space on a vehicle like this, the Crown Signia, versus the Toyota Venza. As you can see, it is an overall larger opening and space for them to get in and out. Now in the front seats and specifically the driver's seat, it's actually not too bad at all. The Toyota Venza does have a decent wide opening with a pretty comfortable seat height and approach height when you're getting in and out of the vehicle. But let's compare it to what the Crown Signia has to offer. Pretty common and pretty similar space. I believe that you do sit a little bit lower when you're talking about approaching to get into the vehicle. It might be less of a hurdle or less of a jump depending on how tall or how short you are. But overall, I would say it's the sweet spot in terms of height, not low like a regular sedan and not high like a large SUV, but very comfortable and definitely enough space. All right, everyone. So now that you know and you're able to see side by side what you're dealing with on a vehicle like a Toyota Venza or a vehicle like a Toyota Crown Signia, let me know what you think in the comments below. Which one is better? Which one is more versatile, more compact, more spacious for you? In the comments below. We'll catch you in the next video, guys. Take care.